We're going to wait for the people to get in the video call. I don't want the mobile phone to disturb me. This is not really good to being focused. Sometimes I think about it, and we didn't really know what did we have before we had this connection 24/7. We used to hang out on a specific time. I don't even remember how we did it without the internet. My friends used to call me just in front of my door. We're gonna meet at the square at 6. Let's say that was the way we did it. And if someone didn't appear 30 minutes later, the meeting time, we just left and nobody got mad. That's the most insane part. I'm gonna introduce you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here in this webinar with Carla Not. We already know each other since the pandemic. You you helped us in different nutritional webinars back in the pandemic. I want to say some things. The webinar is also offered in English through the simultaneous translation. Carla Not, she's gonna talk about her passion in nutrition, and I'm gonna give you the floor. I want you to present yourself, to tell us what do you do in your life and who you are and what do you have for us today. Thank you a lot, Ingrid. I'm Carla Not. I'm a clinical nutritionist and I'm specialized in oncology nutrition. And I'm not really sure when we met, but I got interested in the MPN world. I started to see different patients, and I saw that the dietary changes did change the life in patients. We just kept going, and that was at the back of the pandemic because we were all in lockdown. But that was the way we got started with it, and we keep working. And whenever you want, I'm gonna start talking. I also want to mention that the nutrition aspect is being more and more validated and valued in all the different webinars we've done so far in the national and international aspect. They all underline the importance of the Mediterranean diet that we have. And also, they always underline this supplement aspect. And I think you're going to talk about us, say, about the supplements, vitamins, and different aspects or things that we can take to improve our diet. I'm very happy that you can share with us all that information. Let's get going. Let's see how I can share with you all. I just want to remind you that we have the interpreters so that they can work correctly. Thank you. I'll try my best. Can you see properly the screen? Is it shared? Yeah, everything is all right. Perfect. Let's get into it. This is the content, the different topics that I'm gonna be talking about today. The main idea is that you can see the details around the different types of diets, where the scientific background can be found. And I want to emphasize in one thing is that I've learned throughout the years that there is a difference between professional scientifics and also influencers. And when we sign vitamin D, there have to be people that are aware that it can give us good consequences, and it has to have a scientific background as well, and we cannot generalize, but we have to be objective as well. We're gonna get going with the first topic, diet and MPN risk. I don't mean that one type of diet is better to improve or link. It's not linked to a specific diet. There are people with perfect diets that have or suffer from different diseases, and there are others as well that are healthy, but they have a very bad diet. So we have to bear that in mind. The most important thing that I found out in this first study, the studies not here, I didn't add it to the slides, but they are all referenced, and since the from the association you can find all the original authors and all the different papers. This study, which is very important, we're talking about 500,000 of people that have been part of this study, and we found out that the high intake of sugars was linked to a higher risk of suffering from PV. It was not just sugar, but fructose. And drinks is also a very important aspect. The green drinks, the juices, all those juicy and fruity juice, we're talking that the excess of fruit is not healthy as well. So we have a particular association. A low sugar diet is good. There are fruits that have high levels of fructose, but there are others with low levels of it. If it doesn't mean that the more fruit that we take, the better. That's not directly linked. I'm not gonna talk further in this, but we have to bear in mind that the quality of the fruit is being worse and worse every day. For example, bananas are bigger and more sugary, but before the fruits used to be on season, not that big, less sugary, so nowadays the fruit is not as good as healthy as it should be or as it used to be. And the rates of obesity in the States before the Kellogg's brothers, these ones they introduced the breakfast of cornflakes, milk, and banana, and with the mm, when you bought the cornflakes box, they gave you as well the bananas. So they used to sell you this healthy diet breakfast, and I'm pretty much sure that everything came from South America. So I imagine it was banana. Mm, So the important thing here is that since that moment, the obesity rate increased more and more with the passing of years, and the intake of hydrates is not good, no matter where do you get these hydrates. Um, but the cornflakes, even if they are the less fat cereals, we got now different types of cereals that are more sugary and are even worse. So the sugary thing in the food, I don't think there is a correlation, even good or positive correlation between sugary food and diseases. And what is curious here is that fat, protein, meat, and vegetable, they didn't show any type of link to lead a person to suffer from ET. we have to bear in mind that the PV had no link either with sugary food, neither to this kind of food. We're talking about food, not in detail. But this is curious because this means that a diet based in meat, proteins, vegetables. With meat, we're also talking about the animal meat for sure. There was no direct link with that. Normally, we are very focused on how bad it can be for our health and a specific product, but at some point, it can be also good for us. And something that was underlined in this study was the caffeine coffee. We have to be also very careful with the decaffeinated coffee because they use a specific chemistry products. And I'm not very sure that there can be any healthy decaffeinated coffee. So I always advise people to rather take coffee with caffeine rather than without it, because it can be better for our health in the long term. And in this study, it showed that it was kind of a protector against against the PV. And it is true that caffeine is very strong and it has a circulatory effect, so it can help here. And it's very interesting, actually. The second point here is the dietary interventions. Here we have well, I want to go further or get into the detail with the Mediterranean diet. Here in Spain, we are very happy and proud of our Mediterranean diet, but now we are very far away from what this diet used to be. It has changed a lot over the years, and the intake, the consumption is higher and higher. From my point of view, we are not following it properly. And in this study, there was a comparison between the diet and the USDA, which are the dietary recommendations that are standardized. And in this study, those who followed the Mediterranean diet got a better outcomes. But then in the blood tests, the chemistry values in cytokines showed no changes at all. And it can be curious that we cannot quantify it in the chemical studies, but those who followed the Mediterranean diet did feel better in their daily life. And another fact that is important is that I can do follow the best diet, uh, something that is ecological. It's very expensive. Everything from farm to table, very expensive, very good. But if we suffer from stress, if we smoke, if our mental health is not as good as it should. If we don't do exercise, it doesn't matter the diet that we follow, that we are not gonna feel better. So the multidisciplinary medicine is for a balance. We have to bear in mind the link between the psychological help, the exercise, and also the diet. And something that is also very important is not take any inflammatory substance and toxic one as well, so that the symptoms can be lower and lower.
So now we're going to talk about non-pharmacological interventions. Now, this that comes from this study that I said, it's very nice because it gives an idea, this pyramid, this center idea, the symptom burden inside of the MPN, and the changes that there are in emotional, physical level. There, we must highlight that some treatments can also change our feeling of mental health. They can make a depressive effect. It's not everything the illness per se, but also the treatments. And if I have fatigue, if I'm tired, if I'm not really into doing sports, or the symptoms, for example, or cytosis, cytomegalias, it all has a charge, and the fog, the mental fog, the concentration, etc., the pain that can appear in some cases, all of these affects a lot of factors. What I'm going to highlight is the nutritional and the nutritional and the gut health, and it has effects in these two parameters. The patients with this illness, they have changes in microbiota and all these gut bacteria, they change. And there are changes in this aspect that we can control. And here in this, we can highlight the fact that the study said that we must look which deficits, nutritional deficit, which requirements, that would be the word, does the patient have? Because I found, especially with amino acids that are very important, people that ate zero meat, maybe that wouldn't be the best idea. Sorry, not meat, but proteins. I mean, meat, fish, eggs would be animal origin proteins. There are a lot of things. For example, we would also have when I see someone in the consult and I propose a diet, they can say, okay, this is not nice. I mean, it usually fits because I do a lot of questions, but if something doesn't fit, I change it, because it's better not to do it in 100%, but that there is adherence, that they can follow the diet at the 80% and not the 100% diet that's followed up by a 40%. There's also complement like amino acids, the cysteine that can improve blood tests and the symptoms. The symptom burden, it can be lower. Yeah, sometimes I go too fast. Okay, the anti-inflammatory diet. I have a lot of information. As an anti-inflammatory diet, what I want to highlight is, I mean, I had this test here like this because what it says is that when I make changes, not pharmacological changes, but physical and psychological changes, where it affects, especially it's in the chronic inflammation, and it's very promising because it's something that's real. The person has a real bad feeling, and I mean, the other day, for example, we were counting, I don't remember who especially, but I remember in the account that it was low. I think it was the platelets that were much lower after a month on a diet. So yeah, there are changes, but it's very important, especially that when I can make changes is on the part of the chronic inflammation. This part, how does it work? So the anti-inflammatory diet is based on modulating certain cytokines that are transmitters for people who send messages in my body. They are in charge of the balance of some organs, especially pain, inflammation, and tumor development. And you'd say, okay, that's not good, but it is actually, because cytokines in their NAS are good. For example, if I feel pain, I stop. If I get hit in the elbow and it hurts, that's good. My body makes it bigger, so there's a better access. And so for the substances and the recovery reaches better. And if my elbow hurts, I don't move it. And if I don't move it, it recovers better. So everything has a biological sense. So Instead of these enzymes, these are like printers. They never stop working and generating. So the enzymes, for example, COX, cyclooxygenase, it synthesizes prostaglandins. Those are the inflammatory, the ones we don't want. How does it work? It's the paper. If I put less paper, it prints less. So to this enzyme, if I regulate this acid, this arachidonic acid, AA, that is produced by eating some foods, if I give it less paper, the printer is gonna print less. And this is very important to regulate this cycle. This anti-inflammatory diet, I give less of what produces these inflammatory substances. So what are these substances? This is an example. Don't look at the names. I think it's important. I would have, for example, omega-6 and omega-3. If I eat foods that's rich in this omega-3 and 6, I produce two acids. The first one, we will see the series. The series would be PG1, LT, and TX. And this could have a 1 behind, and this has an anti-inflammatory charge. Afterwards, I would have the acid, the arachidonic acid, that it would produce PG6. The one who gave the names, they thought about the even series that are inflammatory and the ones that are not even are anti-inflammatory. So we would have that the food that produces this acid, they would produce pro-inflammatory substances. That's why the omega-6 has two phases. It must be balanced always with the omega-3. Giving it in high quantities always bad. It must be balanced, and depending on my objective, it must be in balance, and it depends on the type of person. And I would say 1/4. But inside of the omega-3, you probably know it. EPA has a component that's very anti-inflammatory, is the king of cardiovascular illnesses. It's very good for all these anticoagulant and for the tension, for cholesterol. The EPA is the king in this aspect, and it generates this series. Then we have DHA, that's very curious. It has a structural effect. It's good for kids or for people who have dementia or the memory, because the HA is about the eyes and the brain, and it's indirect anti-inflammatory, even though it's not inflammatory per se. It inhibits up to 90% of cytokines, which means that it's very interesting. So if me in my diet, if I eat things that are richer in arachidonic acid and are less rich in EPA, if I eat like this, it's going to be anti-inflammatory. What does the omega-3 have? It's, for example, fish, bluefish, oils, and with omega-6 is nuts, is flags, because we must be careful, because a lot of people don't use well seeds. For example, a flax bread is a bread that was in 200 degrees. it doesn't have omega-3 anymore. Or for example, they sell on supermarkets and it's a brand that's very expensive. I mean, they sell flax that's already smashed, and in cold they would say, okay, nice, because it wasn't on high temperatures. That's typical from grinding and it's perfect. But omega-3 inside of all of these oils, it's a pussy, and it gets oxidated with the light and with oxygen, with everything. It must be done. If I want to do it at home, I take flax. If I have a grinder or a Thermomix, something that could grind it, I grind it. It's just a moment, it's seconds. I put it on a jar and I go to the freezer. That's the only way we stop the oxidation of this omega-3. And every time we wanna take it, I take a spoon and that's how I preserve this omega-3. If I grind this and I put it into a jar, that it would be already oxidated with oxygen. On the freezer, there's no air. So the light, there's no light, and the temperature is where they can't get oxidated. That's why we can put their meat and fish for such a long time. So grinding it, in this sense, it's the one that works. Buying it grinded there was in the supermarket, it doesn't work at all, especially in summer. It's useless. That's inside bread or cookies, whatever the industry makes, it's useless as well. And flax oil, I'm not really a fan. It's very rich, but I'm not such a big fan because with normal temperatures, they are made out of crystals, so you can see that omega-3 is not high quality anymore, and consuming an high quality omega-3, it must be capsulated and it must be at the fridge. And that's something that someone told me from a lab. And don't be surprised that all labs gift omega-3 in some before summer, because they don't survive summer. And that's why, because they know that in their quality, I mean, I'm talking about good labs, not omega-3 from Mercadona. Never buy subs in Mercadona, please. And also saying there's nothing cheap that works well. If it's very cheap, there's always a reason why. It's not the same from a big fish or from a small fish, because that's the fat. What happens with the fat is where the heavy metals are, and the good omega-3 are from sardines or small fish. Because if not, we go back to the same. The quality is not that good. Tuna and salmon don't really have omega-3 because they are piscifactory salmons. Like in big farms, salmon has omega-3 because it's a sporty fish. They swim a lot. That's why they generate these fats that are very good. But piscifactory salmon don't really have omega-3 because they don't move, and the colorants. That's the reason why that meat from llama, from horse, from hare are kind of darker because they are very sporty animals. The pigmentation of the meat changes. To the salmon, it happens in the food they receive in the piscifactory. So I would go to small fish, sardines, anchovies, and also mackerel, but especially small fish are the best omegas. Then for me, it is very easy. Every trans fats, meat, milk, and eggs or cream. Omega-6 is also in almonds and nuts, but especially the one that produces AA. It's also in these substances in milk, etc. But I repeat, arachidonic acid. Maybe you say, okay, milk has it, but maybe in when you're growing up, this is very important. But when we are not growing up, but to the sides, we must see it again and check it up. It is very important. Not everything, and this sounds very complicated. Activation of arachidonic acid producers. They are enzymes that are doing like this the whole day. I mean, you don't see me, but imagine something that's moving fast.
The insulin spikes mean diets rich in sugars means that these levels of as levels they go as fast as they can, quicker and quicker. Imagine we take a Coca-Cola, Fanta, no matter which story soda we're talking about. If we talk about cans, about we are talking about sugary soft drinks. Because sometimes there are different soft drinks have that are better. Maybe they have some pineapple fruit or also the savorized waters. This means that every time that I take or that I consume sugar, even if I'm not taking something that has directly omega-6, I'm reactivating those levels of neomids. Here you have a summary of what's for me the anti-inflammatory diet, and this does not mean the anti-inflammatory diet is not equal to a Mediterranean diet. What I would say is that the anti-inflammatory diet is a perfectioned Mediterranean diet. It is true that the Mediterranean diet doesn't offer as many omega-3 products as it should. The Mediterranean diet has a lot of good points, cheese consumption, and it is true that it shows a balance. But we need to give it a plus with an anti-inflammatory diet, increasing the level of consumption of omega-3. We have to reduce the trans fat. I always told you that the trans fat this means that whenever I want that's something a good fat or a healthy fat that is in a liquid state, for example, um, even if I want to butter margarine or an olive oil, something like that, we may wonder how can we how can we make these products to be spread or butter into the bread. There is a way to make them going from their liquid state to a more solid one. And what happens when we do this change is that a fat that at first is a vegetable fat, maybe the olive oil. Whenever we see the olive oil margarine, it hurts a lot our heart because we are making the olive oil aspect in this margarine to work worse than it should, and it's not healthy anymore. We also worsen these liquids because of the high levels of temperature that they are exposed to improve or increase the flavor. For example, in the chips. In the other hand, we also have the low level of insulin. This because whenever the insulin gets higher, so that we can avoid a high level of sugary in our blood. There is a factor that is very curious. There is a substance that appears in different cancers. It's normal. It's very normal that we see this substance in these types of cancer. So the high levels of sugar in our blood, they are worse than this. It's not that that's taken, let's say, milk skin. I'm talking in a general way. Our body is very trained to adapt or to accept the fat rather than the sugar. Uh, no matter what the human being produce, we are not that very good to adapt our body to it. For example, the meal thing is harder for our body to accept it rather than other type of products. On the other hand, the obesity and the inflammatory diets were increased whenever these sugary things or products appear. And on the last part is an increase also in the antioxidants. For example, the vitamin C. This is if the temperature is not as good as it should be, the oxygen. Have you ever heard? You need to drink very fast the juice because if not, you're gonna lose the vitamin C. Well, it can happen, but fast. For example, on the other hand, we have fresh vegetables. They're gonna have more antioxidants rather than a boiled one. Then we also have the carrots. When once the carrot is boiled, we absorb better the carotene, but it can vary within the different vegetables. So we're gonna move on to the micronutrients and the key supplements. In this part, we're gonna talk about the different symptoms in patients with MPN, and I've classified every symptom to which a specific product could lower these symptoms or improve them. Always, we need to have the basis, the breaks of our house should be the anti-inflammatory diet. It doesn't matter if we take a lot of inflammatory products, food, but then we take supplements. It's not worth it. And there have been a lot of oncological studies in which when we take pills of supplements, sorry, I mean, whenever we consume encapsule supplements or when we take it from the food, the patients that really improve or show improvement in their body, in their health, were the ones that take or that used to take food with those nutrients. It is true that the pills can be good or the supplements can be good if we need to reach a specific level of nutrients or and there are some diseases that make it harder to get those nutrients, so we have to take the supplements. So I'm gonna move on. So right, we when dealing with fatigue, which is the main symptom that all the NPM patients suffer from, I would say the tyrosine and the taurine. Taurine is not linked with the Red Bull. These two aspects or products, they are very good to keep focus. It is true that you should take supplements if you want to increase these levels, because it is very hard to find these products in different food. If we move on to the bone pain, I would recommend turmeric, which is bioavailable, which means that our body can accept properly the turmeric if we take it with pepper or also, because whenever you order or advise a patient to take turmeric, but that dish doesn't have as well pepper, it's not worth it anymore. There are different combinations in which there is a mix of pepper. Um, there are a lot of people, or the Indian medicine and the Chinese medicine, they're very, very old and ancient. Whereas here we are trying just to deal with it. And it is true that another there was this one woman that used to tell me I always got ill and I always got the flu. And one day I started a diet and I took half a lemon, gingerbread, and turmeric, and I use I used to put it all, squeeze it all in a glass with pepper, turmeric, also, um, um, and also the ginger. I want to add that if you include, whenever you include honey in these shots, it's very good for our health. And it is true, yeah. From and they work these shots with ginger, turmeric, pepper, and the lemon. They all work. And if not, you can also buy the mix already done. And there are a lot of households in which families are used to take these shots every day. Now I'm not taking those many infusions, but if you take this shot with different type of milk, I want also to add the cinnamon. Cinnamon is very rich in chromo. It's very rich in chromo, and it's very good to level the high intakes of sugar. But it is true that it's not very linked with these other things. Whoever or those people that suffer from diabetes, they normally take cinnamon. And in my case, I normally take all branches of cinnamons and I just cut it, and the flavor is much better. It is true that the process until we get it, it's harder, but there are different shots. We have this golden milk that I just mentioned that is very, very juicy and yummy. But the vitamin C is directly served there, the half lemon, and you have it there. Once you drink it, you increase a lot that vitamin C. Is as if we think about it, it just implementing different habits. Sometimes we just decide not to do it because we're lazy, but whenever we want to deal with the autumn or with the winter season, whenever we prepare the cinnamon, the ginger, and these different shots, you just need to open the fridge, take it every morning. But it is true that we have to decide and to make that decision one day and to prepare it for a whole week. But I believe that if we should rather these kind of things rather than just watch Netflix. I always say that no matter which diet we follow, we need to have time organize ourselves, organize also the different products that we're gonna buy at the supermarket. So we need to plan a little bit. And when I talk with my patients, we plan it 1 week, with a 1 week break, so they have enough time to buy things at the supermarket, to organize themselves, and to make it easier for them. And if we keep talking about the supplements, we could not finish. But with the night sweat as well, with the menopause is the same. With passion flower and salvia, um, to be focused, it is also very good. The inositol and the colina. Um, there are laboratories that offer these makes already. Um, Foremost, when we talk about uh, focusing the memory, there are laboratories that are already working with inositol and with different mixes. Because, well, I already know people that have bought different jars of different medicines, different supplements, but we already have a lot of good mixes. I was wondering about these memory problems, or whenever we feel this cloudy brain or mind, the lion hair. Well, actually, today in this meeting, I already looked for the mm, this lion hair thing. It's actually helpful. What I felt when I gave it to the patients, um, is that they felt better in the focusing aspect, but this thing is that with this Asian.
I'm such a fan of fungus, and I would add them too. There is no strong evidence yet, but it also happens that the studies are not, all of these, for example, is not from the West, it's from Asia. So it all comes sometimes retarded, like the shiitake, maitake. In oncology, it's very promising. It was late. It came late because sometimes we don't really trust it, and there are some properties that are very interesting. As the fungus, there's a lot of specific fungus that it's like a helper, the immunological helper for the immune system and anti-inflammatory, but all are very helpful. But what I would say is the only bad that it has is that sometimes, for example, if I'm with a immune suppressor, if the therapeutical objective of my doctor is that my immune system lowers down so it doesn't attack my own cells, and I take this fungus, this Asiatic fungus, the inoki, shiitake, maitake, the other one that I never remember its name, they see it counterproducent. What I want to is that you're like this bad. There's a purpose. I want your immune system to be low. So sometimes people against immune suppressors, they see they get ill and they start taking consuming a lot of the other things, but the doctor says no, don't do that because it's what I want. And it always we should consult with the doctor, maybe with interferon, a treatment. Okay, but always ask to the doctor, and it has promising results. And I thought it's a very good combination as well. But always medical control. I have a sentence at the end that talks about this, auto supplementation. And just to summarize up, in polycythemia that has this itching, omega 7 A vitamins and E. The omega-7 comes from the yellow spin. I think it's the yellow spin, but I'm not sure. And this is for hypertension. I mean, it's it's from the yellow saddlethorn, and for when we have abdominal discomfort, carminative herbs, for example, fennel, anise, digestive enzymes, when there's molestation or formigalias, and probiotics. I'm such a big fan from probiotics because I consider that in some studies it's very good, and if they have modifications on the gut, these modifications are not good. Why it's getting modified? So we are gonna take the probiotics. This is very important. And from hepatomegaly, choleretic foods, artichoke, chicory, endive, escarole. What always works well, it's bitter flavors. They always work well for the liver. And nobody likes it. They taste horrible, but everything that has this taste is good for this. Because it helps that the liver has a detox effect, and it activates the cytochromes. There's the liver components that allow it to clean itself. If I don't want to risk with strong plants, like for example, I mean, there's an error there. Bondo doesn't exist, is Boldo, and there's in any hepatic problem context. And then if I have a fever, increase hydration, that's basic. And if there's weight loss, increase caloric intake. And here we have some details. In ketosis, we have NAC, that's this N-acetylcysteine, and we can also see this NAC and NAT in AT-agent. It's so strong with these amino acids, and it's a curiosity. It's very interesting. We can find this in any house, and there's no contraindication. There's nothing bad about them that can affect you. Or the garlic, we must control it depending on the medication, but garlic for blood problems is such an ancient remedy that you must eat raw garlic for problems in the ancient centuries. That was a prescription. And it had to be completely raw. And then for anemia, iron, I mean, hem iron, it depends on the doctor. But if there's anemia, it's supposedly that the iron is low. But in PV, the high iron is very typical, so it depends on the type we have. Folic acid, it's very, very easy. The word folic comes from leaves. Everything that's green leafy vegetables, and B12 that comes from animals, meat, fish, and eggs. And then for hemorrhage, we must take vitamin K. That's procoagulant. So if I have problems that I have too much platelets, I shouldn't take this food. I saw this with the Syntron, that's an anticoagulant. They tell you don't eat vitamin K food, but I wouldn't be worried because vitamin K at the end of the day is very good. And for bone calcification as well, vitamin E, extra virgin olive oil, that's amazing. And then concrete things for chronic inflammation, for thrombosis again, everything that's making trans fats low and make them higher. The coumarins, it's always gonna be good. Coumarins and K vitamin, they help coagulate the blood in very, very smooth levels. It's just food. For example, for arthritis, turmeric and pepper, vasculopathies, vitamins A and E, that's very good. And finally, for leukemia, garlic, but it's contraindicated in patients on immunosuppressants or antiretrovirals. That's not advised with elevated leukocytes. And here, what I wanted to highlight that's always been new, but for example, for vitamin B12, that's very normal. The high levels, I mean, this is complex, but here, for example, what I would say that if I get asked some blood tests, I can see it. You can see your level of folic acid, B12, B9, B6, 9 and 12. It's very easy. And vitamin D, you can just see that in blood test. It's not expensive. You can ask for it. And why I say this, high levels of B12, they reflect tumoral activity. And if I get a blood test and my B12, it's too high or above normality, I must do changes on my diet. If I eat so many meat or a lot of eggs, I maybe should reduce them and change to veggie protein or vitamin D. If it's low, it's bad for everything. It's correlated with a deficit of every illness, especially oncological illnesses. The normal range, it must be 30 or 100 between those parameters. That's normal. I mean, it's a very, very big gap. But talking with oncologists of breast cancer, they said that it should be above 60, even though they say, okay, you reach 30, you must take supplements until 60 because vitamin D is very good for the immunological system and we shouldn't be on the minimum. We must have above 60 values. And amino acids, we already talked about this. The NAC is very important. And it's true that it's a preclinical study, but there's not a bad effect. Nothing's gonna be bad. And polyphenols, it's here, but this is an antioxidant. And one that's very important is green tea. In any oncological aspect, it's very important, and it's indicated 2 per day, but we must do it properly. It's not with 100 degrees water, it's 70 degrees water. There's a time, we mustn't leave it for so many time on the water. Turmeric is very amazing. I mean, there are leukocytes that are activated that take part in this, and I would say the same. I wouldn't think about it. Turmeric, me, and also resveratrol. That's on the grape. That's from wine. When they said that a glass of wine is amazing, that's not true. You can take the the grape, and it's amazing. You don't have to take the wine, you can eat the grape. And it's a pigmentation that's associated with purple colors, and each of them, they are always associated with a color. Lycopenes are associated with red, that's in tomato. And then we have green for chlorophyll, that would have magnesium. And this one that's very famous, I forgot the name, that's also purple, that's prontocyanidins. And that's on plums. And the purple plum, but it's always associated with, if you take the grape and the plum with skin, is better because the concentrations of antioxidants is it, behind of this skin, because it's in contact of the sun. So if I peel off, I'm losing part of the antioxidant. But we must clean very, very well the fruits.
I repeat that we need to clean it really, really, really good to wash it. Because the other day I learned from a professional that we just need to focus on the water. We don't need a lot of water in a bowl. No, we need to open the water, and then we need to brush a little bit, and in order to eliminate and to end with the bad aspects of the fruit. And I am following his advice. And last but not least, the considering the supplement topic, only 24% of the patients report the using of nutritional therapies or to their doctors, because this is very important because every person has their own business. And for example, I'm not really good into the law matter, so I just ask to this professional the basics. And and whenever that we feel like we know about it, if we learn from it from the social media, no, we need to ask our doctor whether it's a good or not for us, and they're gonna advise us with the best option that we can have. So the main conclusions, I want to summarize a little bit, sorry, is that the high sugar intake, uh, the caffeinated coffee, which is a very important and positive matter, the Mediterranean diet, which is feasible in the MPN patients in America. Anyone can follow it. It's not a complex diet, and this can help or may help alleviate the symptoms. We've found promising findings with the preclinical models. Um, the intake or the consumption of common supplements or supplements in general need to be communicated to our medical team. And most of the MPN diseases are linked to low levels of vitamin D, but we should always give a look to it and look after it. This is it. I hope you have liked and enjoyed this webinar. I understand that I speak a lot and that you have just received a lot of information. The main key idea was that you take the most important aspects of the supplements and food nutritional aspects. Um, we want to get into detail with the supplements aspects, vitamin D and other types of supplements. Um, so I don't know if I have already answered different questions in the chat. There is one person that has just asked me about the about a specific disease, the esophagus of virus. Is it advised that they take this ginger shot? No, all the opposite. Those persons, people that have the esophagus problem, whenever we get burned when with the sun, it's the same. There are a lot of people that don't tolerate this type of shots. Um, So we need to be careful with it. And whenever you have esophagus problems, uh, you cannot take these type of shots. Not lemon, not lime, even if it's very healthy, but it's gonna worse their physical condition, their health. Imagine you've got your skin burn within your body. We should avoid those food that can worsen. So we cannot take um, food that is very dry food. We need to chew a lot before we swallow. And the temperature of food is very important as well. Not take anything that is very, very hot. We don't have to, it's forbidden to take or to drink alcohol. And this shot, that's ginger shot, it's very very dangerous. But then if you take turmeric with pepper on its own, it's good as well. But this is very important. I advise you to take it as a supplement, and so that is dissolved in the stomach, and rather than just applying it to our food. I also have another question, that in those cases, well, it's been a week since we've talked about women with MPN. We already talked about menopause. And what advice can you give us about the diet in people that have menopause? I would advise you to follow the anti-inflammatory Mediterranean diet, but with different details. If because of a hormonal change, we are gaining weight, I would change as well the quantity of food that we take, specifically during the night. On the other hand, if we have a strong and very heavy menstruation, we need to cut down the level of omega-3 in our food, and we need to take omega so that the menstruation is not that long and that hard for women. And so this should be, and it's actually very important. Um, we need the omega-6 from a vegetable rather than a meat or from an animal origin. Is very important as well. The menopause can vary a lot within the different women. There are people that have no symptoms at all. There are others that have night sweats, that have problem focusing. There are other women that really suffer from menopause. So I would advise a lot to regularize and to balance the quantity of hydrates that we have. I would increase the level of omega-6, 3 capsules per day. If not, it's not gonna work at all. That's for sure. And the rest of it, if you already follow the anti-inflammatory Mediterranean diet, it should be great. And this omega-6 of Niagara for teenagers that suffer from a very heavy menstruation. Is it also recommended? Yes, it works very good as an hormonal regulation matter. The chest tension, the bipolar modes, and all of that. This supplement can help a lot. And this is a remedy, very, very ancient one, and it works really good. We already know about young women which are patients and that suffer from an abundant menstruations and they are a little bit lost. Then the different doctors tell them that it's very normal, that is what it is. But it is actually very hard as a woman to live with that. Wetting all night the bed with our own blood is difficult to deal with. There is a specific plant, the the Salvia. Salvia is how it's commercialized in Spain. It is also known as Vitex. It's a regulatory product of the menstruation that works very, very good. There is this machine. It's called in one company. It's just the plant. What I'm meaning. It's being commercialized as a medicine, but the plant by its own it works very good to control the quantity of menstruation. It is true that at a teenage uh, period it's very hard. It has no effect if we are taking Idria, Pegasus. No, I wouldn't say it makes a difference. It's like the teacher mode, right? Yes, it is, but it's way softer and smoother. A citrostogenous. Yeah, you said it all right, but in a very smooth level. The soft burn, it's the strongest thing, but we are at a level that is minimum, and we give this type of plan to teenager actually. All right, so I'd say that we've reached to the final part, and we could keep talking during hours and hours. And here, this storm thingy, yeah, it's getting clouder and clouder. Yeah, we've heard it from the window. Yeah, it has actually rained, but we didn't notice. Yeah, I have no sun anymore, and it's very weird that I'm not seeing the sun. For now, I just see a very cloudy environment. I'm very happy for all the information that you've shared with us all today. And I will be really pleased if in the future we can talk and get into detail in different matters so that we can share all this information within the neoplasia community. It is a world that evolves every day, and every day we are also seeing that it is true that we are what we eat. Before we usually pay that much attention, but we are evolving in this way. So I'm very glad about that. Uh, we need to finish. Sorry. Okay, so thank you. It was a pleasure. Oh, hello. How are you? I'm really good as always. It's been years, right? Yeah, we've already talked about this. Our first webinar was during the pandemic, but today I didn't want to stay home. Here in the office, there is silence. The internet works perfectly. I'm very happy for you, and thanks a lot. Thank you for counting with me. And the feedback is also very important. So I'm very grateful. And whenever they tell me that they are getting better, I feel great. Yeah, there is an evolution once we offer this type of webinars so that they can notice, they can tell that they've improved in different symptoms, how they feel. We are trying to do the most, the better, the hardest that we can, and we're very happy to help. Thank you a lot. Thank you for counting with me another time, and see you soon. Good afternoon. See you. Bye.